I just remember one time I was on Clubhouse and my friend Sean was there talking about, he was hiring, Sean Cannell, look him up, Think Media on YouTube. He's been a good friend of mine for many, many years, probably about like a decade now and coming up on a decade. And he started a company called Think Media, and he focuses on building YouTube channels and helping people build their channels and make money with YouTube. And he was building his team and he's hiring. So he jumped on Clubhouse and he was like, hey, yo, we're hiring and this is the qualifications. This is what we need. And I had a question for him because he opened it up for Q&A later. And I was like, hey, bro, it's John. He's like, yeah, I know. I see you, bro. Like, and I was like, look, man, I just launched the agency. This is really exciting to me. Do you have any tips or advice? Like, how do I grow fast? Like, how do I build this thing fast? And he's like, and it just hit me and it stuck with me since this day. He's like, bro, you don't want to grow fast. Hyper growth is super sexy and people want to hear that, I want to make $1 million fast. But let me tell you, and he told me this quick story and I was like, fast, I'll share that later on, I guess. But the summary of the story was healthy growth is better than hyper growth because things break down along the way if you don't fix it or understand the process or system in place to fix it. Mm-hmm. And if you grow too fast, you can't contain the growth. Like if we had 100 clients show up to our door, at that moment, I didn't know how to scale that. I would never know how to serve them and fulfill what we promised, So that was that. And he also told me this. He's like, John, one thing I know about you, and he was like speaking personally to me. He's like, one thing I know about you is your perfectionism and your attention to detail, like that, branding and stuff. Like it has to be perfect and it has to be pretty and it has to be all that stuff. You can't scale that. And I was like, dang. And I was like, yes, I can. But like a part of me was like, yes, I can. And then a part of me was like, man, you're right. Like, I think he's right. And the problem was I was the bottleneck to the company. Ultimately, I had to have my hands on the editing. I had to have my hands on the design. I had to, be in charge of all these things because it represented my brand. And I spent 2 decades learning all this stuff. So why am I going to give it up? And like, why should I do that? And it's because I wanted to build a solid brand and business. And I had to learn how to give up authority. So remember Clay that I talked about? Well, I went back to Clay and I said, hey, I know you use VAs or virtual assistants from like the Philippines to help scale your business. Like they do lead generation and data input and all this stuff. And I was like, hey, do you think I can hire virtual assistants like in the creative space? Like, do they edit and design? Like, he's like, man, I don't know, man, but I could get you connected to this person. I was like, dope, like connect me to that person. So I reached out and had a virtual meeting with this VA company. And what that VA company did was ask me a bunch of questions about what I'm looking for. And then they took the time to go kind of like interview people, like virtual assistants in the Philippines that fit the job title. And since I had this money, I was like, might as well invest it into people to come on board and help me scale this thing, right? So our first hires were a bunch of VAs, like virtual assistants in the Philippines. Funny enough, 3 of them are still with us till this day from the first hire.
Wow.
Yeah, we call them our senior team. So, which is insane. We had the thing that I had to learn was like, all right, what does it take to build a brand consistently that I've learned from the agency world? So I made a job title for every kind of department that it takes, and separated the bottleneck, which was me, separated my job into like 5 different jobs and assigned it to each person, so one person is in control of that specific thing and that's all they do.
Yeah.
And I was like, dude, is this going to work? Yeah, this is wild.
Yeah. How did you like do training and everything for that?
So that's a great question. So I had to spend literally it took about 3 or 4 months because some of the VAs weren't the right fit. So I had to hire fast and fire faster because I was running out of money. Like,
next.
Right. So like, I was like, I only got this much to spend, and what I love about VAs is that they work really hard and they're super hungry because they want to learn more English and they want to level up in their skills. Like they want to, they go to universities and stuff. They are like hungry to learn. So it made it a lot easier for me to train them because they were like asking all kinds of questions. And they're like, how do I do this? How do I do this? How do I do this? Like, I want to do my job better. So like the culture was way different than anyone that I brought on here in the States. I actually had VAs from the States and like I fired them fast. Like I was like, yeah, this ain't gonna work out. Like they're asking for like a raise every other week. And they're like, I'll get to it when I get to it. Oh, I'm at the coffee shop right now. Like I didn't get any of that stuff done. I was like, what? Like,
Suck.
yeah, I'm like, how do you function? Like, how do you run a business like that?